see a bunch of people popping in. One, I want to thank you guys. I do mean it when I say I think I don't want to waste anyone's time. I know time is the single most valuable thing that everybody on this call has. So I do appreciate you guys sharing it with me, and I will try and make this as informative for you guys and actionable as possible. I also want to warn everybody in advance. I'm a huge nerd and I love this stuff. So sometimes I get a little excited. So I hope I don't get too excited and too caught up in the weeds on this. But today we want to just talk about something that I can't go into a room. I just finished with one room, go into another room after this, and people are talking about, which is like, how do I optimize my content with what's happening with AI, with LLMs, with Google AI Overview, ChatGPT, Copilot, Perplexity, all of these different things. So we worked with a bunch of experts and they helped us put this deck together. Those experts include people from all walks of life. A lot of this content came directly from Google. A lot of this content came directly from a gentleman. A couple of you guys were with me in a room the other day, a gentleman named Krishna, who is the head of generative AI from Microsoft. And this is their 2 cents about how you can optimize content for inclusion in the era of AI. And then at the end, we want to talk about one of the easiest kind of fundamental things you can do to help optimize, which is your Google Business Profile. So with that, I will get started. So I don't think this comes as a surprise to anybody, but the future of search is already here, right? AI is unleashing its full potential on search, how people are searching, how the AI systems are responding, new platforms popping up all the time. It's not something that's coming, it's something that's here. There was a quote a couple of years, 2 years ago now. Actually, I think it was just last year. I take it back, where they said 2003 was the wow of AI, 2004 was the how of AI, and 2005 was the now of AI. Now we're sitting in 2006, so we just got to be catching up to everything that's going on. And if there's one spot I would spend and could spend an entire afternoon nerding with anybody on, it's the second paragraph in this slide. So algorithms aren't just indexing pages anymore. I'm old enough to remember when Google, Yahoo, Ask Jeeves, all of these old systems were just blue lined under links with blue lines underneath them, texts that you'd ask a question, best plumber near me. It would give you 5 plumbers with links, right? The blue with a link underneath it, and there was links to their sites. That is not how search works at all anymore. That is not how generative AI and the AI works at all anymore. AI's whole goal is this paragraph. It's to understand you, predict, and now and very soon even act for you. And I'm going to show you guys that here in a couple slides. But if there's one thing to really understand about the difference between, 2019 and 2026, it's this. It is no longer about just returning results. It's about understanding who it is who's typing that question is, predicting what it is that consumer or that person wants, and then acting on behalf for you, which is brand new, which is crazy. And the way all that happens is it's really about those outcomes, trust, and intelligent connections. By the way, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat as we go along. You will definitely be interactive if you want it. So what I mean about understanding, predicting, and even acting for you, search is changing. It really wants to be your personal assistant. For anyone who's done any of these with me, you've heard this really drawn out, but the short version here is, I see Barry on here. Barry and I could be sitting side by side in New York City, and we both type on the same Wi-Fi, and we both type in best restaurant near me. For anyone who doesn't know Barry, he's got a little bit of bougie taste, so a good steakhouse with some nice wines might pop up for Barry. My same query sitting right next to him is going to be a bunch of greasy burgers and cold beer places, right? So the same query can result in 2 different things, even if we're on the same Wi-Fi right next to each other, because my history knows and starts to understand what I like, and his history knows and starts to understand what he likes. If you're a vegetarian, you'll start to see more vegetarian options, right? It's starting to learn. Microsoft, they call it memory. It's actually remembering what you've been doing in the past and helping serve ads and serve results that way. Just kidding, Barry. I know you'd be there with the cold beer and the greasy burger right there next to me for sure. I think most of the people on this call have seen this. When I talk, that was understanding you, predicting you. It's starting to say, hey, listen, I know you need a plumber. This is a real example. So, and I know you like competitive quotes. So we'll just go ahead and start acting for you. Here's how you can get 4 quotes sent to you. So your local service ads, I think it was probably just plumber near me. Plumbers came up. I see this competitive quote. I click get a competitive quote. I can fill out information and it's sending that competitive quote out to 4 companies on my behalf. I didn't have to call and get quotes. I didn't have to email and get quotes. One form fills it out, sends it to 4 different people. It's going further than that, not in LSA yet, but in a lot of other different Google profiles, so you can get a sense that this is coming towards us. It's even starting to make calls on your behalf. So I'm going to play a couple calls for you. Did not find any in the trades, so I apologize about that. But I want you to hear how sophisticated this acting for you is. I almost exclusively use this when I book reservations for hotel or for restaurants now. So I'm going to play one for you for a restaurant. We've also got one in here for a hair appointment. But if this doesn't blow your mind to think about where search is going for you, in this scenario, somebody typed in looking for a reservation tonight for dinner for 2, and I'll play and Google took it from there.
Matthew. Hey, I'm calling to make a reservation. I'm looking for a table on Friday the 4th.
This Friday?
Yeah.
Let me see.
Mm-hmm.
So, how many people? 5?
It's for 2 people.
For 2?
Yes.
And what time you will come?
At 7 p.m.
7. And my full name?
First name is Yaniv, Yaniv.
Okay, I got it. So it will be 2 people at 7 o'clock?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Have a good night. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
He didn't even know he was talking to AI. It's wild where this is going. I've got one more I'll play for you. I won't, well, it's only 56 seconds long, but I'll play this one for you too. This is a hair salon. And here the prompt was, I'm looking for a haircut between 2 time periods. See what you can find for me.
So how can I help you? Hi, I'm calling to book a women's haircut for a client. I'm looking for something on May 3rd. Sure, give me 1 second. Sure, what time are you looking for around? At 12 p.m. We do not have a 12 p.m. available. The closest we have to that is a 1:15. Do you have anything between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m.? Depending on what service she would like. What service is she looking for? Just a woman's haircut for now. Okay, we have a 10 o'clock. 10 a.m. is fine. Okay, what's her first name? The first name is Lisa. Okay, perfect. So I will see Lisa at 10 o'clock on May 3rd. Okay, great. Thanks. Great. Have a great day. Bye.
So when I say it's even acting for you, it's going well beyond what I think we think of. It could even, some stuff they're starting to experiment with on the Microsoft side, particularly, is in all related to our space. Say I get my annual tune-up for you with my AC, and I got it for $79 or $89 or $99. You can put a query in that says, hey, when that happens, go ahead and book this for me. When you see the $99 offer come back from Pronto, go ahead and just proactively book that appointment for me, right? When On Time has their next $50 off special, go ahead and book that proactively for me. It's introducing into flights, particularly. Imagine trying to book a flight through any of these systems, and you simply say, hey, the next time, my sister lives in Kansas, the next time there's a flight from Minneapolis to Kansas leaving on a Friday after 4 o'clock and returning Sunday before 3 o'clock, under $400, just go ahead and book it for me on any of these 3 weekends. That is where it's going with the even acting for you. Wild. Like I said, I get way too excited about this stuff, but this new frontier is wild to me. And as the platforms are changing and allowing more, the consumers are changing. And the speed at which consumers are responding to this changing, I can't even, my brain can't even keep up. Now there's so many different ways to search. I'm sure, I would bet if I took a poll on here, most of you have used voice to text on your phones, right? Most of you have used that. Are you using it for search? For instance, I might just click in here and say, hey, Siri, or hey, Siri, do a quick search to find a plumber who's open with emergency service hours, right? Because I just walked in. Or they'll walk up to something in their garage that's leaking, take a picture of it and say, what is this thing that's in my garage that's leaking? Oh, that's a water heater. You need a plumber to come fix that. How, not only is it the platform changing, but how consumers are responding to that change is happening faster than ever. This is how we've got to make sure we're responding so that we can be seen in these kind of platforms with the changes going on in AI. It also means that quite often the first impression someone's going to get of your brand now is from AI. AI is shaping those first impressions. Are you showing up? And are you showing up in a way that makes them want to work with you? Are you showing up in a way that looks authoritative? For example, a lot of folks on this call are not best pricing locations. So when I go back to that picture of a water heater, please don't show me a bunch of rusty water heaters. What are you showing me in response to that so that I know that you can fix it, that you're going to have clean tech licensed technicians and booties? How are you getting all of that? You know, pictures worth 1,000 words is truly important, especially as AI is shaping that first impression. So how can my brand show up in AI? We get asked this all the time. When a customer asks AI for help, it's drawing on more than just the text, right? It's drawing on the content, the images, the videos, mentions of your brand from a Better Business Bureau, Yelp, all of that's pulling in and becoming part of the execution layer for that customer's questions and decisions so they can turn into conversions. So visibility belongs to content that AI can trust, understand, and more importantly, ground, which we're going to go into here next. Hopefully hopefully I'm not the only nerd on the call. So what is grounding? Grounding's been around for a while, but I don't think it's ever been more important. It's really that interface between what you put on the web and the AI systems. It's the connective tissue between the content and the AI engines that are required. Let me show you an example of what I mean here. I think it's on this next slide. Let's see here. So this is what I mean by grounding. And this was wild to me. Once I heard it, my brain kind of snapped into action. So maybe you guys already knew this and I'm the only one, but LLMs have a cutoff date. And the P in ChatGPT stands for pre-trained, right? The data in an LLM is pre-trained. It's a set of data. It's the fresh data that fuels the AI, and that's search. So you have your LLMs and you have search. How they work together is grounding, right? How you go from search to the LLMs is grounding. An example of this, and I don't mean anything political about this, but was during that football halftime show. Bad Bunny had a little kid he gave his Grammy to. And a lot of people thought that little kid was Liam Ramos, the kid with the bunny ears that was here in Minnesota. And it wasn't. But so many people had put it in, and the LLM hadn't learned the true answer that a lot of times search was responding with the wrong answer, saying, yes, it was. It wasn't. It was an actor. But that's because the LLMs couldn't answer the question because it has a cutoff date. It wasn't until there was enough search information, news outlets reporting on it, people talking about it, that it could actually feed down to that LLM. That's grounding in that connective layer. I promise this is going somewhere. So how does AI answer, right? What I just got done telling you, there's this layer of grounding, all these different things. I think we think it's so much simpler than it is. Someone types in, my AC is blowing hot air. Do I need a HVAC tech to come out, right? We put that query in. We don't think about all the things that happen in that process. I'm going to go through this here, and there's one more after this. But this is the process that happens in AI. And again, this is not my opinion. This came directly from the platforms. First, there's a user query. User submits a query or a task. We'll use mine. My AC is blowing hot air. Do I need an HVAC tech to come out? Then there's the retrieval, right? The content's fetched from available sources. It's looking across the board. There's ranking. Now that I've seen all of this content, how do I rank this content? What seems to be the most important? Evidence is synthesized. It doesn't just look at that. It says, Do I have multiple sources telling me things? Is there some that have more trust? Is there some that better for local or are more effective for the search this person's doing? Memory the customer has. Safety filtering, you're going to hear a ton more about this over the next year or two because it's becoming so much more important. It's checked against safety compliance, policy restraints, PII, harmful content, all those fun things. Not as super relevant in our space as it is in some others. Factual alignment, content integration, and then answer generation. Only there is the answer actually brought to the surface. And a lot of people think this is the last step. There's still one more, which is citations. You start to notice it on everything, but it's becoming more important because that's also going back into that safety layer. So this is all nerd language. I'm going to show you one that we can actually go through together. And I think this is only important for this conversation because visibility starts long before the generation, right? It starts with that query understanding, queries interpreted, normalized, fanned out, all of those things I just showed you in that path. So how does it look? Let's start with one. We'll pretend we're going to use this query, one that we can all probably get behind here. What are the cutest new cat toys this year? That's the query that came up. Believe it or not, that query is vague, informal, and incomplete. When I was first told this, my mind was like, really? How do I wrap my head around this? Because that feels like a query any one of us, I'm not a cat person, I'm a dog person, but any one of us who love cats might type in, what are the cutest new cat toys this year? The system can't use that query as is. Why? What does this year mean? Is this year 2026? Is this year the last 365 days? Is this year recently? What does that mean? What does cutest mean in this scenario, right? Is it small? Is it little? Is it sweet? What does cutest mean? That query is not a usable query as it sits. So the system has to take some steps. So the first step is they're going to examine that query, determine the query is vague, informal, incomplete, cannot be used. The next step is understanding. So now AI interprets the query. This is so important when we think about the visibility in AI, and I'll show you why. What does it interpret? Well, the system knows the topic is cat toys. It knows the attributes new, freshness, fresh sensitive. That's how it's interpreting the word new. It knows the desired outcome as a recommendation. It knows that desired outcome without me having to tell it I was looking for a recommendation. Nowhere in that query does it say there's a recommendation request. But it knows if I'm typing in, what are the cutest new cat toys of the years? I'm looking for recommendations. And it knows the tone is positive, it's fun, and I'm going to put a little bracket around this. It also knows it has consumer intent. And the reason that's important is when consumer intent is detected, it's going to run a parallel path of also doing all of this for paid, right? Like if it knows you have a consumer intent. A great example of this is one of our clients had a blog about what year plumbing was invented, right? Most of our ads did not fire for what year plumbing was invented because indoor plumbing, sorry, what year indoor plumbing was invented. That's not a consumer intent query. Someone's writing a project about that, right? So you still might surface the results in the website in AI overviews and in search, organic search, because it's relative to what the customer is searching, but it's certainly not going to start anything on the consumer intent. And why this is important is, and this is such an important nugget, visibility starts here. If your content doesn't match the interpreted intent, it's likely never considered. Not the intent of the words in there, not the actual keywords, but the interpreted intent. That is how visibility starts. You won't even be considered unless what it interprets the customer's query to mean and what you have overlap. Again, you guys, I apologize. I'm such a nerd. This gets me so excited. I'm trying to stay calm. And then query normalization. AI then rewrites the query into a clean version it can actually use, right, to do the search on. So for example, and it does hundreds of these, latest cat toys for 2026. So in that scenario, it decided this year meant 2026. New cat toy releases for this year. Top trending cat toys. Drop the word cutest. It thinks trending is probably cute, right? And so on and so forth. It's taking that one query, interpreting what it thinks it means, and then fanning it out into a ton of different results that it can operate on. And if you want to be retrieved, right, only content that aligns with the normalized intent is retrieved. So you're not visible unless you align with what it was showing, and you're only going to be retrieved, potentially retrieved, if the content aligns with that normalized query. Really kind of turns on its head this whole how we think about keywords and content on the site. Next, then, and I'm just going to go through this real quick so you can see it, becomes query expansion. So then the system generates multiple retrieval paths. So it takes all of those things again and does this kind of fan out notion, and it's looking for how many times you hit that. It's looking against your semantic markup on the site, keywords that you have on the site, freshness of the content on the site, schema and structure that you have on the site, attributes, categories, everything that you have. It's not just looking at one little component. All of this competing to help your content be found. I know this is, I'm only the nerds are still with me here, but I love this stuff. And as customers' queries are getting longer, I think a lot of you have seen this slide. This came directly from Google. As customers' queries are getting longer, which they're doing at an extremely accelerated rate, all of that's happening and getting more complex. So whereas in 2024, going way back in history here, I think it was 52, just over half of the searches in Google were 1 to 3 keywords. Now they're 5+ keywords, growing at exponential rate. And part of that's because of how they're integrating, right? Photo with words, voice text. More people are able to text more. We're getting more sophisticated in how we work with these systems. So we're going from something like leaky faucet to find a local plumber for fixing persistent dripping bathroom sink in Minneapolis that can come today. And then all those steps I just shown you are blown out across this entire thing. So thinking about that query again. Oops, sorry. I think I did a double there. My apologies. There you go. So thinking about that query again, oh, no, it wasn't a double. It's because consumer intent. Sorry, I should have said that in there. When you think about that consumer intent firing, all that's, what everything I just showed you is for organic. When it detects consumer intent, it's also doing this. When there's commercial intent or consumer intent, that's when it's doing that same parallel path, but triggering ads in those AI overviews or in Copilot, or soon to be, it's already starting, but soon to be for us, chat GPTs and all these other tools. Any questions on that so far? No, you guys are easy. So when you think about that grounding again, I just talked to you about how important that was. You saw the steps and how that grounding kind of connects all that. What are some things we can do that help ground between your brand, your content, and the AI systems? And there's really 3 big key things. There's freshness, authenticity, and semantic richness. These are the 3 things. And this is not like my opinion. This, again, came several people on this call who were sitting in the same room. This came directly from the head of generative AI from one of the major platforms. And you want to think about all this while still making your content modular, multi-intent. I won't hit you with all the buzzwords lingo down there. So when you think about it, it really breaks into these 3 buckets. There's the freshness, there's the authenticity, and there's the semantic richness. And freshness is what's going to help us in those first few stages, and that retrieval, that ranking, the evidence synthesizing. Authenticity has got kind of the middle layer there, and semantic richness is across the board. So you have to have all 3 of these things to get through all of those steps. And I love the bottom line there, just to make it easy. The top is for, I think, a lot of the data text, but freshness influences the retrievability, authenticity influences the trust scoring, and semantic richness influences the match quality, the ability for the AI systems to know what's coming. So let's take these apart. Freshness. What can I do to help freshness? New content, right? That's an easy one. We've all been taught that. Content with meaningful changes. Now, I don't know about you, but I haven't seen a whole lot of changes to water heaters in my lifetime. Please don't come after me if you think there are, but some of the tanked water heaters, there's not a whole lot of model upgrades, right? I haven't seen one look like Brad Pitt yet. So what is a meaningful change there? It's very different than if we're talking about the latest version of a car. And then deleted content. This one is new and actually was really, really exciting to me when I saw this come out. I was really excited to see the deleted content because for me, I have been a content hoarder throughout the years, but there's a lot of reasons why if they're looking at freshness, meaning deleted content as well. I'll just give you a couple quick ones. One of the reasons they love the deleted content is because so much content is being created that they lose a lot of of, they crawl the web and they're losing a lot of energy just to crawl the web. So there's one thing there. Two, it shows that you're pruning your garden, right? Our CRO talks about that all the time. You gotta prune the garden, keep it fresh. It knows that if you're deleting content, you're making sure that content's fresh. And three, one of the ones I think about all the time is it also helps prevent hallucinations. So for example, we're here in Minnesota. Right now, if I have a pipe that burst in my, a spigot that burst outside my home, I could probably safely assume that that spigot burst because it froze. If I have that frozen content up and I have a pipe or a spigot that has a problem in the summer, they don't want that content coming up. It's a kind of a dumbed down version of what we're trying to talk about. But that is one of the reasons why they're really looking for freshness and they're looking at new content with meaningful changes and deleted content. And I got to say, I think this is something that most of us do not do just because for years we've been talking about content, and more content. But if you go back through your sites and you just go into Search Console and you look at for anything that's had the course of a year, less than 20 impressions and no clicks on it, you'll find a lot of content that's probably pretty easy to part with. Or if you like the content, take that content down, make changes to it, redress that content and use it in a new manner. So it's either got a meaningful change or new content, and it brings up that whole freshness layer. Freshness pulls in content into results. That authenticity and semantic richness are what pushes it into the answers, right? So that's what you really have to think about. So what are the 5 tips here that we really want to focus on? And I want to, and I hate to use the word ground here, but ground ourselves on these 5 tips, because this is what we're going to transition into when we talk about GBP. Because I just went through a lot of stuff, and I don't think a lot of us want to do semantic markups on our websites or take a look at all the different structure and technical structure on our site. But one of the places we can do this really easily ourselves and very quickly, and these same 5 things apply, is in our Google Business Profile. So I want to just share these tips with you as they came, like I said, directly from the platform partner, so you can make sure we all get the benefit of it. So the 5 tips for building that authentic, semantic rich content. 1, build unique content depth intensity. And I love the tip here. The tip they gave us was focus on areas that reflect your unique experience, depth and niche problems in the space. How do you approach something different? I'll give you a great example around the membership programs. Why is your membership program than the guy's membership program down the street? What do you get? Build depth on that, right? Put that content in. Here, instead of saying, here's the 10 things you get with my membership program, take the time to say what each one of those 10 things are. Make that a series on your Google Business Profile. Pop one of those a day for 10 days, or pop one a day or one a week for 10 weeks, right? Just making sure you get that depth and intensity of content around your unique structure, around your unique position. Structure is part of the storytelling. Think about how you're structuring that. I just gave you kind of a good example, but what are you trying to say in that entire structure? On your website, for instance, FAQ blocks, right? Schema markups, key points. That same thing's going to apply when we talk about GBP. This one I cannot stress enough. If you've had any conversation with me in the last year, you're probably sick of me talking about video, but show your work. It builds trust. Show your work with examples, data sources, show evidence, well-anchored claims. What do I get for $99 when you come out to my house and you do the spring tune-up? What is with that? Give me some details on that. It doesn't have to be long. As a matter of fact, most people won't watch it if it's more than 30 seconds, but put some of that, show your work in there. Context rules, go beyond the facts. Explain why that matters. Why does it matter that I do a water heater flush? Don't just show me the water heater flush, which, by the way, for some weird reason, people love to see on the web, but show me, go beyond that. Tell me why it matters, what it does. Help me understand. It's great content, too, for the context, by the way. And then freshness is not a gimmick. It's governance. You have to treat content refresh, content updates, cadence, as part of the knowledge life cycle. It's got to be part of what you're going to do. So moving forward from that, I'm going to skip this because we're going to go through a little bit here, and we kind of beat this, but visibility belongs to content that AI can trust, understand, and ground. So let's go back to those 5 points and think about those as it relates to my GBP and why it matters. Again, and we'll send this out, but take this slide with you and think about what are some things I can do. GBP is one of the only places without a technical back end, without WordPress knowledge, without an engineer, without a company you can just go and do some of these things, right? You can just go ahead and push some of this content on there. Why are we talking about Google Business Profile when we just got done talking about AI and AI tools, and they're bigger than Google, right? We're all talking about ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gronk, Claude, all of these things that are out there. Well, only 2% of the queries that are on ChatGPT still have purchasing intent, and 96% of the ChatGPT users still rely on Google. Most of the commercial intent and most of the like purchasing and consumer intent is still happening on Google, and GBP is one of the powerhouse engines behind Google. So it's a really, really easy place to help get to where most of your customers are. So when we talk about Google Business Profiles, and I know you guys are probably sick of hearing me talk about this too, but it's like the local search engine. Again, it really is, it's not just a listing anymore. It's a high trust data engine. It's powering AI, it's powering voice, it's powering visual. You've all probably gotten the notes from someone saying, oh, I'll get you listed in all the visual things or all the AI overviews. A lot of that, whether it's Google or not, is coming from Google Business Profile. So it is definitely not something that you should ignore. And I think people should put more effort into. It's such an easy tool and it runs so much. It's linked to your local service ads now. It's linked to your ads. It's linked to your organic on your website. It's linked to a variety of different NAP, name, address, phone number information on the back end. So it really is that powerhouse of data. And that's where that layer of AI is so important. And the goal in the age of Gemini and AI overviews, you want to be found, you want to be recommended. That's where this whole notion of Google Business Profile is becoming so important. And just key insight, if your GBP isn't optimized, it's not just going to rank you lower, it's probably going to just ignore you entirely. A great little tip here is your hours. About a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, Google recognized and acknowledged that hours is a ranking factor in Google Business Profile. So when you're showing your hours closed, it's probably just going to ignore you entirely. It's not going to show your site, your GBP, and it's connecting that to your website. It's connecting to all these different things. So think about that as just one small example. If you're not optimized properly, it's not just the rank, it might just ignore you entirely. It's a wild concept. And again, more about the foundation of answers. It's feeding the LLMs. AI overviews, Gemini pull directly from your GBP. They pull heavily from photos and videos that are in your GBP. For a long time, Google Business Profile they've introduced videos, and then there's a problem with uploading videos. So I think a lot of people gave up on them. It's back, baby. Like, get back to putting those videos on there. You can do it with your phone. Google reads and Microsoft and Apple, they read so much now from those videos. It's such a huge component. And I like to talk about that position one. I'm going to go back and show you what I mean by that. When you think about this page here, I just typed in bond fee, particularly here in the Twin Cities. But when half the page practically is dedicated to something that costs $0.00, it's showing you how important that is. I think we've talked about this quite a bit, so I'll skip it here. And then you've really got to think about that social proof beyond just the star rating. Rightfully so, because I am the same way. We all get obsessed with that star rating, what we're doing, but you have to think about more than just the star rating in there. What can we get our customers to say in the reviews? What kind of photos are we adding, right? What kind of keyword intelligence is coming out of those reviews, right? High volume, recent, detailed reviews are the strongest signals of social truth that AI can find. That's full stop. The more you can get your customers to truly interact in those reviews and provide content and details, that is one of the number one things they're doing. It's called search justification, and they're actually pulling those signals in, not just as social proof, but as search justification across the board. If you don't believe me, just go to your Google later today or Microsoft, whatever you want to type in, and type in vegetarian restaurant near me and watch what comes up for suggestions. A lot of them will have a review that says best vegetarian or vegan dish I had. The photos are going to say likely vegan or likely vegetarian because Google's reading those photos and it's pulling information from those reviews, from those photos, from all those assets to determine what it's going to show you. All right, so this is probably basic for a lot of you guys, but I like to start with fundamentals. Let's optimize. If you're thinking about your Google Business Profile particularly, just some basic stuff, right? Make sure you've got your name, your address, your phone, your service areas. There's a spot, and I can't tell you how often we see this. You can put 20 locations in there. Think about the 20 locations you're putting in there if you're in the service area in addition to your area. and don't have 5 of them. Fill them up, right? Fill them to the best of your ability. Your hours, appointment URL. Can't stress that one enough. I'm gonna go back here a second. When you have the appointment URL, look at that big blue bar that draws your eyes to. If you don't have your appointment URL, get it. If you don't have an appointment URL that's ready for reserve with Google, get it. That's those phone calls I was playing with you. Not a plug, but like Service Titans 2.0 has the reserve with Google component to it. They're not doing it yet, but it's ready to go for when they're ready. Hours is a ranking factor. Please look at your hours and please don't forget about special hours. People forget about this all the time. It drives me insane. Coming up this summer is the 4th of July. Little tip, you guys, it's going to happen on the 4th of July. So just go in there now and say, hey, I'm open for the 4th of July or closed. Doesn't change. It's the 4th of July. You can go out a year if you want and put that in there so that one, it's going to help with the whether or not it's going to discover you. 2, even if it does discover you, it doesn't say holiday hours may affect this merchant. You're less likely to get the click. So even if you're discovered and crawled, you want to make sure you let your customers know, say you're open, that you're open on the 4th of July. I think it's Saturday this year, so I'm not sure how many people are open, but regardless. Your business description, your social links, your years open. My theory is if Google asks for it, add it. It's one of the only places we can just kind of throw things at the wall and get it into Google. And then this one, again, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, you guys, but multimodal. The more you have of images and videos, the better. And please think about those videos and images. When we started this, I talked about how search is changing and it wants to be your personal assistant. Even though I think it's hilarious, I do not want to see mainline backups when I'm thinking about my home and an issue. Make them clean, presentable pictures, show booties on your technicians, have clean trucks, don't have rust on my truck. Think about who the customer is you're trying to attract and make sure your images and videos are attracting that kind of customer. I think really strongly most people want to see the solutions. They don't want to see the problems. They're looking at the problem in their home. They want to know what that solution is going to look like. And please make sure that it looks like a tech you're going to let into my house, right? If I'm calling on behalf of my house that I share with my grandma and grandma's going to be home this weekend, make sure that the tech is somebody I'd let in my home with grandma. And then services and products, complete as many as you can. And descriptions and keywords. A lot of people underutilize this space. There is a lot of content you can put in there. And again, remember Google and Microsoft, all of them, ChatGPT is pulling from this too. All of them are pulling from this. Get as much content in there as you can. So quick rule of 5, you guys. This is what I always tell people, and you can see kind of an unoptimized version versus an optimized version, how much of a difference this can make. And it's not just about like the game of Monopoly, how much room I can take on the board. It's also about how much extra content that optimized on the right is being able to feed back into the machine, right? So reviews, 20 to 25% per week. The reason we come up with that number, besides just a lot of data and research, is that you have to have a Google or a Google-enabled email to leave a GBP review. And about a little better than 53% of people in the United States have a Google or Google-enabled email. What I mean by Google-enabled email is Camp is actually a Google-enabled email, right? So I could leave one from my Camp email. If you ask everybody, 50's probably going to make I'm a hockey math girl, right? So give me a break here, but I'm going to say 50%. Half of them can leave me a review. Half of them will leave me a review if I'm asking consistently and asking well. So that's at 20 to 25 per week. But they're also looking at consistency, frequency, and relevancy, right? So don't have a bunch of people from China leaving a review for a shop in Minneapolis. They're going to pick that up. That's that relevancy. Consistency. They want to see the reviews are coming in relatively consistent and they're frequent. The frequency is the same. That way they know you're not spiking things or buying reviews. It is really well monitored. Minimum of 5 pictures and videos each month. I don't think there's anybody on this call that can't do way better than that, like a minimum of 5 pictures or videos per week, really, right? This is for some of the smaller shops we work with. It is so easy to add. You can also schedule some of these things now. So you can schedule those, but these videos, these pictures, and we are so lucky. Most people are on here on one version of a field management system or another that allows pictures for every one of your jobs. So you can just go through there and grab a couple good pictures. They can even read the text in the pictures. Think about that, right? If you're putting in a bunch of Daikin mini splits and someone's looking for a mini split or a Daikin or they want to fix something, it can read on there that it says Daikin mini split in the photo. Get those photos on there. 2 products or services updates each month. Again, or 4 posts each month, 2 products and service updates each month. And then here's a couple just quick tips. Once a month, go in and check. Please, for the love of all things holy, check your suggested edits. Anyone can actually make a suggested edit to somebody else's GBP, like hours, location, phone number, name, services. You want to make sure that you're monitoring those suggested edits. You also want to look at your cover photo and photo updates. Make sure people aren't putting in photos that weren't of you. You can flag those. Primary category updates with seasonality. Check who the users are on their accounts, right? Service updates, hours, all that fun stuff. And again, the reason I started by talking about AI and we went into this is because all of those things are great and that's on AI, but what can you do? This is one of the powerhouses that's going to help with all those things I just showed you. So as you think about these things and the 5 tips that were given to us, this helps significantly with getting those on there. And if you have them and you have somebody who can get it on your website too, get it on your Facebook page too, get it on your meta ads, get it on your LinkedIn, all those different places.
Hey, Katie, didn't want to interrupt, but we did have a couple of questions in
shoot, sorry.
chat.
Yeah.
So Paul asked, who does Camp endorse for AI voice vendors?
Oh, that's a great question, Paul. I don't know that we would necessarily endorse one vendor over another. I will tell you that we've had a lot of great partnerships with Same Day AI. I've seen them work very, very successfully. I think a lot of that depends on the tools that you use and how you implement it. I'll give you a great tip on that. I just heard this the other day and I want to share it with you guys. One of the people who worked with Same Day was using Same Day, set up a special one on Same Day to do their open invoice follow-up. I thought that was such great use because no one wants to make those calls. And half the job is just going ahead and reaching the person. So they set up a really cool outbound calling for the open invoices.
And then looks like Barry has a couple questions in here about, I think it was GBP. Does it take answers to 5-star ratings? Barry, do you want to, you can unmute and chat with Katie if you'd like.
Yeah, we respond to 5-star reviews, and sometimes they're not very descriptive. We know all the descriptors, like it's a water heater, it's a new whatever, and we can add that information in our answer to the Google review. And I was just wondering if maybe it filters through the answers as well as the review itself.
I love that question. And I will tell you, Barry, I'm part of a Google Business Profile product experts that meets pretty regularly for Google. That question comes up every single time. The official stance from Google is no, they are not looking at that data, but they strongly encourage you to answer with that information anyway, because customers, one, it informs the customers who are looking, and 2, people are more likely to mimic what they see. So if you're putting that in there, they'll probably start to put it in theirs as well. So the official answer I got just recently from a Google Business Profile product expert series I was in is no, they are not using that for search justification, but yet they strongly recommend it.
Got it.
And now with I hate to keep plugging AI, but now with AI, you can get AI to answer a lot of that stuff too with specifics, especially if you hook it up to your systems. And yes, we'll be sending notes out and the deck, Heather, correct? I see that in the notes too.
Yes, we'll send a recording of and the deck. And then Anita just chatted, we have a mainly service business, but it was suggested that we populate the product side as well, although we don't sell products, but list the services as the products. Is that correct?
Yep, you can do that a couple of different ways. If you're a mainly service business, say you are an HVAC business, you can put the equipment. Don't just think about the ones you sell, think about the stuff you maintenance as well. Just to get that content to pop up and start ranking. It's not super, it's still way more common for someone to type in AC than it is for them to type in Daikin or Carrier or Train. But Google's smart enough to know that Carrier, Train, and Daikin are all AC units. So it does help. And you can also list your services in there as well. It is again, I hate to keep using this term, but it is a search justification. So strongly recommend if it's in there, fill it out.
Then we had one more. Rebecca asked regarding listing your times in your GBP. She said, if our office is not open Saturday and Sunday, and it says it is closed in our GBP, so is that hurting them?
I strongly recommend it matches your website. This is one of the ones like when people, this sounds so dumb, but when people get flagged, a lot of times it's because what's in their GBP isn't matching their website footer. Like if you have an address in your GBP and it's different than what's in your website footer, or your hours are different, it'll suggest changes, it causes issues. So one, you want to make sure they match. Two, my personal take there is if it does, it's a ranking factor. Full stop. So I'm going to answer with the data point I know. It is a ranking factor. It's one of the few ranking factors that Google's come out and acknowledged. You can go to support.google.com, then you can click on Google Business Profile and ask it, and it will show you where in their content that it actually says it is a ranking factor. So important for people to know that, not my opinion. My opinion is if you're answering phones on the weekends or you have an AI system like same day that's answering your phones and it's capable of booking, then you are open 24 hours a day, not for service necessarily, but you are open to help customers 24 hours, and you could add that to it. It's really, I think marketing serves operations, not the other way around. So it's really an operations decision of whether or not you want to show those days anyway when customers are doing research. And I think a lot of that also depends on your trade. So for instance, if you're pools, a lot of research for pools is done on the weekend. So you might want to make sure you are coming up on the weekend and capable of booking something.
We've had a couple others. I wanted to let everybody know if you want to unmute and actually ask Katie the question directly, you're welcome to do that. I see questions in here from Jamie and Aaron.
I see Aaron's about the loan officer and 19 other. I'm a loan officer in an office with 19 other loan officers. How can I optimize my listing in such an environment? It depends, Aaron, if you're an independent loan officer amongst all these other loan officers and you have your own, or if it's part of a group of loan officers, because that is very different, sadly enough. If you are part of a group and that's your business at that location, same thing. Get the reviews. Like it's wild, but especially in a scenario like that, how much people are going to lean into trust factors there. You see a lot of people like different content you can push out all the time, tips, like little best practices for loan. Hey, you're getting ready to do a loan. Here's some things to think about. We just actually, weirdly enough, had a conversation this morning with our executive team about the fact that interest rates are so low. And I said, gosh, a lot of our team members are kind of early stage career people who bought their first homes in the last few years. Should we run a session here about over a lunch and learn for our team members to say, hey, if you bought a house a couple years ago, here's how you refinance loan. This is honestly this question we just had a conversation we had this morning. I would love to know who could do that in my area. I might search something like that. So any of those kind of things you can get in there helps.
I did want to, Katie, did you see Jamie's question in the chat?
Let me pop back up to Jamie's question here. Jamie, what are the impacts of including specific limited time pricing? Oh my gosh, I love you so much. Pricing for offers and GBP posts. From consumer point of view, if I was searching plumbing repair near me with a specific price range, will our former posts with limited time pricing cause a disadvantage in the way our GBP ranks and shows these results? Not if you set them to expire. So super good question. Love that. That is exactly the kind of content Google and everybody loves, right? Especially if that's the specific thing I'm searching for. We all do know that pricing is becoming more and more important. Not listing the whole price. I can't tell you what an AC unit is because I don't know what your house looks like till I get there, right? But saying, hey, for X amount of dollars, I'll come out to your house and do an evaluation. So any of that content you can get the better. And now, particularly in GBP, there is a way to schedule it to also end. And put that end in. And you can actually remove posts too if they're becoming an issue. I see two more here. A lot of information sounds similar to how cookies work on websites. Do cookies have any part in query searches? That's a really very interesting question. I would go back to something that Microsoft told us, and this is, I'm getting a little deep here, but this is wild to me. If you think about the fact that Google, Microsoft, ChatGPT, they all want to serve me. They want to know me and serve me like my personal assistant. Cookies is just one more little signal you can put on there that says, hey, I've been to the site and remember that information and giving more audience signals to it. But it is bigger than that. I'm going to go here, even if your question wasn't. This just happened the other day. Somebody might be typing in what's happening in Mexico. And then the next query is places to fly with my family for spring break. It might serve me as from Mexico. I didn't put Mexico in the query, but it's remembering that I have been a bunch of questions about Cabo versus Cozumel versus Cancun, right? It's remembering, it's memory. So they literally call it a Microsoft, all of those different things. And then it's inferring what's actually happening when it presents the other answer. Cookies are just another component of that when they're enabled legally and done correctly. Does that answer that question, Leo? And that was you can check text if it's not. Oh, interesting. Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you. And then FAQ is important on GBP. Yes. So the question and answers as we know them are actually going away, but how you can get additional content like that in there is super important. So the question and answer section that was on there is actually deprecating inside GBP, but getting some different, anything you can signal to your customers, emergency services, getting that into your description, right? Especially if you after our emergency services, get that in there, get those posts in there. That's great content to add. Anything that you'd normally add in there, I would definitely recommend getting in there. I will just, because you guys are asking such great questions, I will just tell you, actually, I'll just go to it so you guys can see it because I think I'm still sharing my screen. Can you see? No, I'm just sharing my one thing here. Let me reshare this real quick because support. Well, you can just do it. You can go to support.google.com. When you get there, you guys, you'll see a thing that says, how can I help? Let's see, how do I share a different thing here? Anyway, and if you scroll down, you'll see another down arrow. Keep scrolling. There's a whole section when you get to, I think it's called Google Business, under Business, Google Business Profiles. It's right there on the second from the bottom on the left. Google Business Profile. You can also Control F. That has all kinds of information on the site that you guys can look at and ask questions to. It's kind of it's got a knowledge base in there, but also start to learn. So you don't have to believe people like me. You don't have to believe people like other vendors. It's all there. Yep. Thanks, Heather. Support.google.com. Click on the little down arrow, go down to business, and there's a whole section. Great videos in there. It's awesome if you ever can't sleep at night, you want a little reading. Awesome. Well, you guys, I really appreciate everyone's help. Again, we will make this content available for everybody so you guys can see it and read it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you guys so much for spending the hour with us. Bye,
Thank
Barry.
you. See ya.